Hi, everyone. This is Ari Kopel with Shattering the Matrix. Today we have a fantastic guest, and her name is Farrah Prudence, I believe. That's your last name, is that correct, Farrah?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Just didn't want to mispronounce. So, and the reason that I have brought Farrah on is because I ran into her. I've become a little bit of an activist, actually not a little bit, but a lot, after writing my books. And because I see a lot of, the behavior of humanity has just gotten worse exponentially. And so when I observe this, I have to call it out, and it is what it is. It's one of the things that I just don't like doing is, making believe something is not there when it is, and especially when it's being shoved down our throats. So I've been observing how our government has been working not in favor of we the people, and thank goodness that, Mr. Trump got elected, and, but I'm also watching the resistance, the blatant pushback for all the plans that he has to protect our country here in the United States of America. For all of those that are from here, you understand what I'm saying, and those of you from are from other countries are probably observing this as well in your news. So what we're observing, what I'm personally observing, is the fact that there's a lot of trying to infiltrate people that are the cause of wars. They've become refugees because of wars that we've created as well, and now they're coming in. We're just basically a lot of the what we call liberals, or people that are just so open-minded and so giving and loving, and this is the way that they present themselves, willingly to open the doors without vetting anyone and not understanding that, or understanding, maybe it is deliberate, that with that comes the Trojan horse. And so in my speaking out about this, I came across a video where Farrah was talking. I believe she was solo in the automobile, and was one of those moments, and I go, oh my goodness, I have found my other self. The words that she was using were very identical to mine. They were very, in alignment with the way that I view the world. And her level of, righteous indignation just stirred me up to have to reach out to her. And the reason I did that is because she really, in my opinion, voiced truth and voiced exactly what is going on. And I believe that my audience, and hopefully this video/radio show will become viral so that others can understand the magnitude of what we're talking about and the dangers that we're facing. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce Farrah Prudence to you all. And Farrah, I would love for you to just explain or give a background of who you are, what led you to this path now, and why you're so passionate about it.
Thank you very much for that. My name is Farrah Prudence. Prudence is not my real last name. I use that because, as you'll see, I'll explain that in a minute. I am an American citizen. I was born in Ohio to two immigrant parents, and my mom was Roman Catholic from Bethlehem, and my dad is a Muslim from Hebron. So they're both from what we call Israel. My mom converted to Islam when I was 5 years old, and after that, my dad proceeded to move us to the Middle East, at which point we were taught Islam because it's mandatory to teach about Islam in all the schools, whether it's public or private schools, and we proceeded to experience the Islamic culture in the benevolent and mild and moderate country of Jordan for about 6 years, after which we moved to Dubai in the UAE, and I lived there for 4 years. So I spent at least 10 years in the Middle East and the Arabian Gulf. I'm fluent in both Arabic and English, and I grew up with Islam as my religion. because you're born into Islam and that's just the way it is. There's really not renouncing any Islam, because if you do, you become what is called a murtad or an apostate. And Muhammad, who is the prophet of Islam, clearly stated that anybody who is a murtad or an apostate should be killed. You give them 3 days to reconsider their decision, after which time they need to be killed. There is no other way. So that is something that is mandated in Islam. That is why my last name is changed. It's because I know there's a lot of Muslims out there who would love to have my head on a platter. I left Islam when we moved back to the West in Canada. I actually originally left Islam when I was 10 years old. I was trying to become more devout. I was trying to earn my father's favor. And I started to read the Quran and the Hadith. Literally, my hair started to fall out. I was so stressed as a 10-year-old really reading this garbage, this evil garbage that they call holy. When you're 10 years old and you're trying to believe in this stuff and you're starting to read the Quran, it says, strike them at the neck, kill them where you find them, migrate and take over. It's a very stressful situation. And I couldn't believe in it. I even tried wearing the hijab. I was taking it off several times in my life. And I couldn't get myself to come around and believe in this stuff. So I quietly left it alone. Of course, I couldn't voice up what I had questions on, because in Islam, you are not allowed to have questions. You cannot question Allah. You cannot question Muhammad. You cannot question your imam or your sheikh. When I was 16 or 17, we actually got out from under my dad. We left him because he was extremely abusive as well. My mom converted back to Christianity. I left all religion altogether. I came to the United States. My entire life, I've endured horrors in the Middle East and the Arabian Gulf. Everything. Pick a trauma, any trauma. Sexual abuse, domestic violence, mental abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. Everything you could possibly think about, I've endured. And my only hope was to come back home. I just wanted to go back home where I could be free. Here I am, 18 years old, coming back to the States. And home is completely violated. My homeland has been raped by Islam. The very thing that I fled to leave was here, is taking over, and it was everywhere, like a cancer. And nobody could see it. I kept quiet and I kept in hiding until one day I couldn't stay quiet any longer. And that was the day that I made a video that was actually a response to somebody who was on my Facebook. And my Facebook account had less than 100 people on it. I made the video, I put it up, and all of a sudden the next day my phone is going off and there's hundreds of thousands of views and people are messaging me from everywhere. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what just happened? I have no idea. And that's where my walk started.
Wow. I mean, what an amazing and courageous journey you've had. And I tell you, just listening to you and watching at least just one of those videos, I know you've put up several of them afterwards, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you've had several. So my hat comes off to you, because it takes such courage to come out and speak against such a violent ideology and religion, that and especially the consequences for doing such a thing is incredible. And so your desire to help people understand what's happening and educate surpasses that fear. It's to me, it's like you are a warrioress, and that's why I identify with you so amazingly and so incredibly, because I am the same way, yet you have a heck of a lot more to lose. And so thank you so much for coming out and being that person that is able to confront that fear and confront all odds just so that you can help, the rest of humanity. So let me ask you this question because, a lot of people, again, there's that other side of people that we're all polarized here. It's this side against that side. And then we've got what we call here in the United States the left or the liberals, that come with the guise of being open-minded and open-hearted, and they want to help everyone and equality for everyone. And, with the pretense that we're here helping and it's a humanitarian cause, allowing refugees to leave their country, and come to a better place, okay? My question is, why haven't the other, Arab countries in the Middle East opened their hearts and their arms and their homes to these people? Do you know?
Why would they, is the question. Here's why they would not. One, you have things happening that people don't even know about. For example, the Muslim Brotherhood is already designated a terrorist organization in several Arab Muslim countries. Why is it not designated one here in the United States? That's the same reason that those same countries won't take, Ahmed Muhammad off the street and bring him into their country. They don't want that terrorist, violent threat to be in their countries. They already deal with them in their own countries, and they try to keep it under the mat, and they try to keep it hush-hush. They already know what the consequences are. The same reason we're ignorant about the Muslim Brotherhood, they know about the Muslim Brotherhood. We want to bring refugees in. They're not taking in refugees because they don't want just Joe Schmo off the street to come in, and they know they're not going to have any IDs. And even if they did, it is extremely easy to fake documentation and to fake reports in the Middle East and not be able to get a straight answer. And that's when they had standing governments, not when it was all torn down. But more than that, the second thing is that in Islam, there is this idea of what they call futuhat. That means opening up land. When a land is opened, that means Islam is brought to that land. So, in order to bring Islam to the rest of the world, you're going to have to bring Muslims to the rest of the world. So you have Muslim countries who now have Muslims who can be dislocated and become refugees. Of course, they're going to encourage them to go into non-Muslim countries in order to take over and to start influencing all of the government and the doctrine and the whole view of Islam. I mean, this is not their first rodeo. You have Muhammad, who was the first Muslim refugee. And people apparently don't know this story and don't know that he was actually a refugee and how that turned out for the Jews and the Christians that gave him shelter to begin with. They were all slaughtered. And
can you go into that story for our audience who is not familiar with that background?
Yeah, of course. So Muhammad was from Quraysh, which is now called Mecca. He is the prophet of Islam. Let's just get this all clear. Doesn't matter if you're Shia, Sunni, Salafi. Don't let anybody confuse you with those words. A Muslim is a Muslim is a Muslim. Doesn't matter. They all believe in Muhammad. They all believe in the Quran. They all believe in Allah. There is no theological dispute about this. So Muhammad was in Mecca. Mecca, they were polytheists. So they had several gods. Jesus was one of them. Krishna was one of them. They had several different gods. And by nature, they're peaceful people. They're tolerant people. They were merchants. And they tolerate everybody's God. Well, Muhammad went in there for about 11 years, I believe, and he was preaching about one God. And not only one God, but he didn't want them to have all of their gods anymore. And he was insulting their gods. And finally, they had enough of him. And they chased him out of Mecca. He went to what is called now Medina. as a refugee. He went to seek shelter with them. Those were mostly Jews and Christians. At first, he tried to get the Jews to recognize him as a prophet. And he went with the Jews, and they actually were very nice, and they came up and were like, okay, you know, if you're a prophet, you have to meet certain criteria. Not anybody can just say, oh, I'm a prophet. If there's anything that the Jews are really good at, it's keeping records, and they're very good at keeping the law. So they know exactly what a prophet should look like, what it should say, if somebody should have prophesied about you somewhere. And when he did not meet the criteria, and they said, there's just no way that you're a prophet. There's just not. That upset him. And if you study Islamic history, you don't upset Muhammad. You don't piss him off, because it's going to end up with your head on a platter and your daughter as a sex slave. Within a couple of years, he had gathered enough military strength to wipe out 3 Jewish villages, all of the men. And what he defined as men was any boy who started to show any kind of pubic hair or chest hair. So you're talking about 11, 12, 13-year-old boys and older, all getting slaughtered. One of them, Bani Qurayza, 800 men killed. And their wives and daughters got raped in front of them as they were waiting to get beheaded. So much so that the Sahaba, or Muhammad's disciples, came to him and said, we don't feel comfortable having sex with these women, with their husbands right there. And Muhammad went to explain to them that it doesn't matter that they're married, because they're not Muslim women. And they are what is called sabaya or jawari. They are loot of the war. It is halal, or it is permitted for you to have sex with them.
Wow.
So that was the first Muslim refugee. This is the man who is the ultimate role model of Islam. He is the Jesus to Christianity.
That's pretty horrible.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's Islamic doctrine. This isn't something that, Farrah is making up. This isn't something that one school of thought is. This is Islamic history. This is backed up with, if you go into the Quran, which is, again, the same for Shia, Sunni, anybody, chapter 8, verse 74. Listen to this. But those who have believed and immigrated and fought in the cause of Allah, and those who gave shelter and aided, it is they who are the believers. Truly, for them is forgiveness and noble provision. Does that sound like the Boston Marathon bombers to you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or the San Bernardino shooters, or the refugees in Europe that hit Paris, or the ones that hit Brussels? Pick and choose.
Yep. So how do they come up with this slogan that Islam is the religion of peace? Where in what world, in what reality does that fit in when we're observing totally different behavior from that? Where do they get that from? Do you know?
I think it was Winston Churchill that said that the lie can get halfway across the world before the truth has a chance to get up and put its pants on in the morning. Islam is peace in an interesting phrase, because it is. But the word Islam in Arabic is actually a combination of 2 words. Salam, which is peace, and istislam, which is giving up or giving in. And what it is, you can have peace in Islam only after you submit or give up or give in to Allah and Muhammad. That's how Islam is peace comes about. The Muslims around the world are very good with half-truths and demented lies. CARE will go up there, the Council for American Islamic Relations, and they will give verses from the Quran, and they will give hadith and say this is not permitted in Islam. A half-truth. Yes, Islam says that you should, for example, one of the things they like to say is, in Islam, you are supposed to tell the truth. Absolutely, you are supposed to tell the truth to other Muslims, not to not believers. Non-believers, you don't owe them the truth. You are, in fact, encouraged to deceive them so that they will join your ranks or that they will feel closer to you and feel safe, and then you can take them over. Islam is not a religion. Islam is a theocracy. It is a military, political takeover system that just so happens to have a God and a prophet. With absolutely no prophecy, by the way. Not one.
Crazy. So what does jihad mean? What is that?
Oh, jihad. Jihad means to exert effort for the sake of Allah. 97% of jihad in Islamic doctrine is a reference to military, physical, takeover, kill and maim jihad. 3%, about 3%, is a reference to self-betterment. Again, if you remember a campaign from CARE and ISNA and all of those lovely, lovely people in the OIC saying that jihad means you need to better yourself, absolutely. They're telling you the truth. 3% of the truth. 4% of the truth. Make it 10% of the truth. 90% of jihad is actual physical, military combat and taking over, whether it's military or through the government or through changing the cultural structure, whatever it is, it's about taking over another people. That's what jihad is.
What's the aim? Is it to pretty much conquer the whole world? Is that pretty much what is the, okay? So because I know that there's something where they also believe in the end of times or the end of the stuff that's written in the Book of Revelation. In a way, it seems as if they are bringing in that agenda. Is that what you pick up from that as well?
Yes. In Islam, there are two different types of countries. Islam divides countries into two. Dar al-Salam, or Dar al-Islam, which means the house of Islam, or another name for it is the house of peace. And the other one is Dar al-Harb. Dar al-Harb is the house of war. So you say, Farrah, what designates, how do we know which country is what? It's very simple. If a country uses Sharia law and a country is an Islamic country, it is the house of peace. It is the house of Islam. There is no war to be waged there. If a country does not follow Sharia law and is not designated an Islamic country, that is the house of war. Islam is in a perpetual, never-ending war against non-Muslims. As long as there is a country that is not conquered by Islam, Islam is at war with it. Period. It's not an opinion. This is what the doctrine is. And the purpose is to take over the world. As a matter of fact, they believe that the end, day of judgment, will not pass and it will not come until rocks and trees actually start speaking to Muslims and say, "Oh, ye Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Come kill him." That's their equivalent of the Book of Revelation.
They're pretty much, escalating everything so to bring forth the all the information, all the stuff that's prophesied in there, and so that's pretty scary because we're obviously seeing it now. The fact that they're coming in here, into this country, obviously they're coming into Europe now, and we're seeing that blatantly, right? What's going on there? Right. The fact that they're now coming here, and as to what made you speak out, because you were seeing so many of them here, it's very, very sinister, okay, the fact that we have officials in our government, whomever they are, that are pushing for that agenda So we've got, and I'm assuming you've already figured that out, infiltrators, right? We've got people in key positions, insiders, inside our own government, inside the European Union and whatnot, that are in favor, pushing forth certain legislation or whatnot to allow this kind of takeover. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree. And this is one of those things that I like to note to people. Intentions don't really matter with me. I've gotten to a point in my life where if your ignorance and your deliberate blindness causes harm to other people, your intentions are irrelevant. It is your actions and what you're pushing on people that actually matters. I don't care if somebody's intentions are humanitarian. If you don't take 2 minutes to use 2 brain cells to observe and see the truth in front of you, and all you want to do is label people who oppose you as racist and bigots without listening to them, your intentions are irrelevant when our children are dead.
Exactly. Yeah. Or when their freedom to be able to express in that manner is no longer there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty, and it's one of the things. I mean, there's, the fact that we're watching what's happening, and then you see these people opposing, not listening to reason. There's no common sense, not even one molecule of common sense, and it just gets me sick to my stomach. I mean, there's just, it's my little dog has more common sense.
Yes, actually.
Pretty scary.
It's funny. It's funny to hear people say, oh, you can't, there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. You can't, what is it that Hillary likes to use? Paint them with a broad brush. You can't generalize. Yes, I can. I can say everybody who's allergic to peanut butter can't eat peanut butter. That's a generalization that is a fact. Everybody who is a Muslim believes in Islam, which means you believe in the Quran and you believe in Muhammad as a role model. That's an acceptable generalization. That is called a fact. And yes, you can paint people with a broad brush. All rapists are bad people. We can agree on that. It's nuns generally, help people. We can all agree on that. If you truly believe in something and you declare yourself a follower, then you need to have the consequences of what that means. I personally believe everybody has the freedom to believe whatever they want. Your belief system is yours. I'm a libertarian in the true sense of the word. Whatever you want to believe is on you. Until the moment it starts to rock my ship. For example, if somebody, this is how ridiculously stupid people have become. Somebody is part of the KKK. It's okay to say they're racist. But if somebody is part of Islam, it's not okay to say they believe in Sharia. What is the difference? This drives me nuts, Ari. It drives me absolutely up the wall. What is the difference? There's not a difference. Why is it that Islam gets a pass every freaking time?
Well, because there's an agenda, and people here in this country and other countries, they're listening to propaganda. A lot of people can't discern, okay, and that's a true problem, that people cannot discern. They can't see truth. And so, therefore, they follow they're probably inherently good, and they're following, altruistic principles of, everybody living together and holding hands and singing Kumbaya, and, everybody's, around the tree and around the fire and singing Kumbaya. And in reality, they don't understand because they don't have that in them. And what is that? That evil. There's no malice in them, and they probably don't understand that other people have that potential, and so they're gullible, and it's just one gullibility after another. They get suckered into this and get suckered into that, which leads me into the Women's March. It's like, are you kidding me? Now, can you express what your opinion was about that?
I'm actually banned from Linda Sarsour's social media accounts.
Oh my goodness.
She banned me. That's not nice. I'm sorry.
Yep.
The Women's March. Oh my gosh. The Women's March. Where do I even start? Linda
Start. You know what? And feel free to get really pissed off. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. Okay. Just go ahead.
Thank you. Well, Linda Sarsour was one of the organizers of the Women's March. She seemed to be the head of the serpent, so to speak. And she is a woman who actually, there's video interviews of her getting outraged that 22 states will not allow Sharia law. Imagine the audacity. Why wouldn't we want to cut off people's hands and, stone women to death for getting raped? I don't understand. Honestly, I don't know how we have the nerve to not have Sharia law. This woman is insane. Yep. She's not insane. It's the people following her that are insane. Here's the thing. She's walking around. They're giving out people hijabs to wear, the headscarf. The irony of it all is what's hilarious.
So she's one of the organizers of the march. Is that correct?
Yes, she is one of the organizers. She is heavily embedded with the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas and CARE, and all of them are terrorist organizations, especially Hamas and CARE. She is heavily embedded with them. And she walks around wearing her headscarf and having other women wear a headscarf. It's like in a women's march. I want you to imagine this, Ari. What if there was, imagine when the greats were around, Dr. Martin Luther King. Mm-hmm. Imagine him walking down the street, marching for his rights, and giving out KKK white cone heads. Or white cone hats for people to wear. This is exactly what that is. It is not different at all. That is the exact equivalent. These people are marching for what is supposed to be women's rights, and they're wearing a symbol of the oppression of women. That's what they're doing. Do it. Yep. Wear it in solidarity with women. Really? What about the women that are getting killed because they're not wearing it?
It was a slap in the face for women, because the audacity of not even, because I didn't see any. And please tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I don't think anyone was really speaking about the oppression and the sex, the sex slaves and the trafficking and the abuse of women across the world. I mean, did you hear any speech like that or anything like that?
Not a peep. Just a bunch of nasty women is all I heard.
Exactly. Nasty women wearing nasty costumes, it was vulgarity. I mean, everything that you can imagine. The intention, again, is like you mentioned. The intention was probably there, where there's solidarity. Women are marching for a cause. But the true reason things that should have been brought up that are really against women, treating women less than animals, wasn't brought up. And the fact that this woman, this Linda woman, is wearing the headscarf and is part of this, the Muslim Brotherhood and whatnot, is, again, it's a slap in the face of women who were basically there in solidarity. So it's the irony. The irony of it all. Yeah. So it's a propaganda. They're in our face. Mm-hmm. Propaganda for again, Islam, for that whole movement to come into the country. Did you see that video of the garb? It was like a fashion show of all the women wearing the hijabs and whatnot.
Oh, no.
Okay, I got to send that one to you. Yeah, it's amazing. That's a New York fashion show. And they're all wearing, Islamic outfits, the hijabs and the whole thing. So, it's in our faces.
As we speak, Ari, there are Yazidi, Christian, Jewish, atheist girls, 5-year-old girls, 13-year-old girls, 18-year-old girls, 25-year-old women who are getting forced to wear that garbage and literally chained and then sold in a market. And we know about it, and we see it, and we see the videos. And not a peep.
Not a peep.
Nobody wants to say anything about it.
No outcry, no marches, nothing.
No, there's nobody protesting at the Saudi Arabia embassy. There's nobody protesting at the Iranian embassy who just lashed 2 Christian women, I believe, for taking communion. 80 lashes, each woman. Did anybody protest? Did anybody say a thing? But God forbid, God forbid that Linda Sarsour doesn't get Sharia in the United States. And you know what's even worse? It's even worse than all of this, is why the hijab came into play in the first place. Everybody thinks that it's because of modesty, that it's kind of like how the nuns wear it and how other cultures wear it. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. The hijab came about. There are 2 stories of why the hijab came about. And if it's okay, I'd like to share them with you.
Definitely, please.
The first story is that there were some Muslim women around a fountain or a well in Medina. And back in those days, they only wore kind of like a miniskirt, really. It just kind of covered under their belly button because it's hot. It's freaking Saudi Arabia. And they got molested and they got catcalled by some Muslim men. So they went to Muhammad and said, this just happened to us and we are Muslim women. Well, Muhammad went into his house and all of a sudden God spoke to him and he had a revelation. And his revelation was that Muslim women should cover themselves with the hijab and the dress so that the Muslim men can distinguish them from non-Muslim women. You're going to say, Farrah, why would they want to distinguish them? Easy. Because it is halal. You are allowed in Islam as a Muslim man to molest, rape, take whatever you want from a non-Muslim woman. You are not allowed to do it to a Muslim woman. So when a Muslim woman puts on a scarf, she's distinguishing herself so that Muslim men know that she is not to be molested. So what she's saying is that she's not to be molested, but it's okay for me to get raped. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is that Umar bin Khattab, who was one of Muhammad's disciples, he would be the equivalent of probably, let's say, John or Peter. Umar bin Khattab was known to be a very violent man, and he had beaten a woman badly, so badly, she ran to Muhammad to tell him what happened. She had bruises all over her. When Muhammad called Umar, Umar said, I didn't know she was a Muslim woman. I thought she was a jariyah. I thought she was a sex slave. So Muhammad said, cover up so that you can be known. I don't know which one of the stories you prefer. I don't know which one's better. Which one's going to make you feel better? They
both sound great. I'm sold. I'm ordering mine tomorrow.
Exactly. So wear the hijab proudly in solidarity with other women who don't want to get raped, to make it okay for women who are not wearing the hijab to get raped. It amazes me, the feminism movement that went from something glorious and great, our right to vote, our right to work, our right to have brains and to go to school and to pursue education, our right to be respected regardless of what we're wearing, to let's all wear hijab. Let's all go backwards 1,400 years. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it all sounds like we're stuck in the Middle Ages or even worse, huh? Even just the customs, the way that I mean, you take a look at those countries. Of course, there's some that are very modern, Saudi Arabia and all those, I'm assuming. But there's some others that it's just the warlike mentality that just puts everything back into the Flintstone age, very not progressive whatsoever, and that's pretty scary. Now, I wanted to touch base on something. Do you feel that maybe a lot of the people who are embracing this whole culture to come into this country, again, with open arms, because we believe that we need to give these people a chance. We need to, protect the women and children, where mostly I see men. But where the women and children are, I don't know, but not that they're not there, but we mostly see men coming in as refugees. So is it possible that a lot of us are desensitized and, not really embracing the danger, the possibility that it is a Trojan horse? And is it possible also that a lot of people might think that a lot of people like you and I that are discussing this, and probably millions of us by now, discussing this could be conspiracy theorists, and that maybe that we see maybe a video of one woman addressing being okay and embracing sex slaves, and another one being harassed down the street. All of these are maybe faked, and this is not the way it really is, that all Muslims are peaceful. There's only maybe a few rotten apples, and we're now generalizing this, and therefore that's why they're pushing so hard in bringing in these refugees. What is your take on that? That's a loaded question.
I wonder. It is something I wonder about all the time, and I get called a conspiracy theorist all the time, and I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Actually, that used to be a good thing back in the day. Those were called counselors to kings and queens. It was actually somebody's job to be a conspiracy theorist, to try and outsmart any conspiracies that could be against the kings and queens. So that's actually a job title. It's not an insult. That's for one. For two, I get a lot of people who tell me, well, that was your experience. Just because you had a bad experience, it doesn't mean that all Muslims are bad or that Islam is a bad religion. When my experience is 100% allowed and 100% law in Islam, then yes. That means that this is the truth and this is what's going on. But it's not just my experience. It's the experience of millions around the world. But it baffles me still, Ari, because some people, if you remember back at the time of Abu Ghraib with the scandals that happened in Iraq, these are the same people who are protesting against all of the military. These are the same people who go out and protest against all law enforcement because there are a few bad apples. And that's not a religion, that's a job. So why, again, you find Islam, again, gets a pass? You have one bad cop, 10 bad cops in the country, 100 bad cops out of thousands, and all of a sudden all law enforcement is pigs and they're racist and they're bad people, and it doesn't even matter if you're black or Indian or whatever it is, you're still a racist and you're still a pig. But Islam, an actual ideology, so somebody has to believe in this stuff to be called a Muslim. They get a pass, and we're the nut jobs for saying, listen to what they're telling you. They're not even lying about it. The thing is, it can't even be a Trojan horse because they're not lying. They're telling us right up front, we're Muslims. It's like somebody telling me right up front, I'm a Christian. I'm going to assume they're going to follow Christ. If they do something that contradicts what Christ would have said or done, then I'm going to say, no, I'm negating you as a Christian. You're not a Christian. But if a Muslim follows Islam, all of a sudden, he's a bad apple. He's not a real Muslim because he's following Islam. I'm giving myself a headache.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel, and I know the answer, I'm just trying to bring it up because I'm sure that maybe there are some people that are listening that probably have this question. And so I'm just bringing it up so we can get it out of the way, is that do you feel that some of the videos that are out there where they have Muslim women speaking about Islam and pro-Sharia, and you know, you have one video saying this and another one expressing, you know, Sharia law is awesome, and the other one, we need Sharia law, and then the other one says, oh, well, we need sex trafficking is fine, and then you have videos of maybe, you know, the men, you know, just taking over Europe and whatnot, and hitting women and raping women and all this. Do you feel that those are made up, maybe just propaganda to make us fearful, so that maybe we could, as a country here in the United States, rile us up to the point of actually creating harm to other Muslims or creating some kind of civil unrest or even civil war? What are your thoughts on that?
Those videos, Ari, actually make Islam look good compared to what you would see if you actually lived in Muslim countries. There are no words to explain the horrors that are in Islamic countries. When I talk about Islamic countries that are our friends, supposedly our friends like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has executions in the public square right now. Right now. This is not like 100 years ago. This is not even 10 years ago. This is today. Not exactly today, but they have executions for gay people. They still stone women. Those are our friends. Those are the people that we help with military bases, and we help with all of their oil stuff. Without us, Saudi Arabia would have never been what it is today. That is what is called, what do they like to call them, the moderate Muslims? In Jordan and in Lebanon, if you are convicted of rape, all the convictions will be dropped against you if you marry the girl you raped. Honor killings are acceptable. And let me explain honor killings for a second. A woman gets raped, Ari. She has to have 4 Muslim male witnesses that say she got raped. Otherwise, she's an adulterer, and that means she gets killed.
So she can't win no matter what?
No! The horrors are worse than what the videos show. You want to talk about racism? These people, I come here and my nation is destroyed. A bunch of pansies walking around. They think it's racist because somebody called them a name. Darling, no, that's called the world. People are just not nice sometimes. And you just got to know what you're worth. That's all that there is to it. You want to talk about real racism? When I lived in Dubai, there was a car that's driving in front of us with a local, Emirati, somebody who was from Dubai. He screwed up. I don't remember exactly what he did when he was driving. And there was a guy, an Indian guy, who was driving a cab in front of him. He got out of his car in front of me, got out of his car, pulled the Indian guy out of his car, beat him, put him back into the car, and then he went back into his own vehicle and drove off. And do you think that Indian guy can do a thing? Not a damn thing for him to do. If he does even say a word, he will get deported. He won't get any of his money. They have them sitting like sardines in sardine cans while all of these locals are making millions off of their backs. I was in Kuwait when I was leaving Iraq, and it was the end of my contract there. And a couple of Kuwaiti guys, and I'll never forget it, they finished their drinks out of a Pepsi can. And they called to the man who was a janitor who was probably in his 60s, these little schmucks. And they threw the can and said, boy, come here and get it. Oh, my blood was boiling. But I can't say anything. I can't. I'm in Kuwait. And that's a moderate Islamic country. I'm in Kuwait. I'd get killed. Nobody would ever know where I went.
Yeah, you disappear, you become a slave or, whatever. It's terrible. So explain to the audience what is Sharia law really, and what are the consequences to the United States or any country that experiences that?
Sharia. They like to pass off Sharia as a law that is only within the religious community. I wish I actually remembered her name. One of the commentators on Fox News today was just talking about how Sharia law is no different than any other religious courts that could be held in the United States. What a lie. What a lie. And here is why. Yes, there can be Jewish courts that deal with, divorce, marriage, and all of that stuff. No Jewish court is going to send a woman to be stoned. No Jewish court is going to say, it's okay that you raped a woman because she's a non-Muslim. Sharia law is a combination of laws from the Quran and from the Hadith, or the Sirah. And the Holy Trinity in Islam are the three books. The Quran, that they believe is the literal word of their God. The Hadith, which is everything that Muhammad said. And the Sirah, which is everything that Muhammad did. So those are three books that are the be-all and end-all of Islam. In the Quran, Allah commands Muslims 91 times to obey Muhammad. 91 times. He's not kidding. This is important commandment. So Muslims documented what Muhammad said and what he did. Mind you, a lot of this documentation came about 250 years after Muhammad had already died. But this is what they consider the documentation. Sharia law is extracted from those three books to become the law, the social law, the military law, the religious law, and everything down to if you're supposed to spit on your right or your left. Are you supposed to walk into your house with your right foot or your left foot? Are you supposed to have sex with your wife when she's on her period? No, actually, if you even touch her, you're considered unclean and you're supposed to have to go wash your hands. Literally, like if you held your wife's hand. She's unclean. Now you have to go and wash up. It's everything. Every little detail about your personal life, all the way up to how the government should run. I don't know another religion that has that many laws. I mean, even the Jews don't have that many laws. Mm-hmm. To talk about every little single thing. And it's not a law that is just for Muslims. Here's where the danger is. The law covers non-Muslims. If you end up with Sharia in a certain area, that means that you as a non-Muslim are going to be put or held up to those laws. There are laws specific to non-Muslims. Like we talked about before, it's not okay to lie. You have to be honest unless you're lying to a non-Muslim. It's not okay to rape unless you're raping a non-Muslim. It's not okay to steal unless you're taking from non-Muslims. It is not okay to kill unless you're killing a non-Muslim or a woman who is a Muslim who, for example, committed adultery or got raped with no witnesses or brought shame to the family in any which way. So it's very fascinating to see people who think that, oh, Sharia law is just a religious law. It's not, actually. It's first and foremost a political law.
What are the chances that that some states, I know that some states were even contemplating it, I believe. But what are the chances that Sharia law could be really implemented in our culture here, in our society, in our law system here?
It already is.
It already is, right?
Fatwa is what I have on my head. Fatwa is a judgment from, it's a word from Sharia. It's a judgment from a Muslim imam or a Muslim court. When I left Islam as a 17-year-old, my dad went to his local mosque in Canada, and he got a fatwa on my head and my mom and my 4 siblings. There's a judgment on us to get killed. The mosque that issued the fatwa against, for example, Pamela Geller, where was that mosque? It wasn't a mosque in Saudi Arabia. It was a mosque here in the United States. I believe it was in Texas. Sharia is already here. Whether the state wants to believe it or not, it already is here. Muslims already have 4 wives everywhere they go, wherever they go if they choose to. They don't care. They don't have to have the state approve it, because in their mind, it doesn't matter if you get a divorce through the state, you're still married as a Muslim unless a Muslim cleric, imam, or sheikh gives you a divorce. But Sharia is already here.
Now, do our laws have to uphold the Sharia law, as far as you know, or
there
not?
have been judges. There have been judges who have upheld Sharia law and Sharia rulings. There have been judges. That's why ALAC has come into the picture, and Act for America has been a very strong proponent for that. ALAC is American Laws for American Courts. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful that we even have to have a bill in every state to say only American laws should be used in American courts.
Yeah,
but,
I
know, isn't it crazy? Use American laws in America. But that's why ALAC is getting pushed. So if you do want to take a part of it, you can go to actforamerica.org. They have an amazing list of all your senators, congressmen, congresswomen, all of their contact information. You can get in touch with them and push ALAC in your state. If your state does not have ALAC, American Laws for American Courts, it is important to get it put through.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. That's awesome. What are your thoughts about the fact that a lot of the refugees that the United States of America so willingly were wanting to bring into this country, that, and I use the word Trojan horse because once those able and willing and healthy men, which would be coming into the country, more than likely would join ISIS in some format. I'm sure you've heard that we have some training camps here in the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that they're just, bringing in those, people that are coming in whichever fashion, whether they're coming in through Mexico or Canada or wherever, bringing them into probably training camps. Do you feel that we are more than likely any moment, these sleeper cells / training camps would probably be on the, will be alerted into some kind of terrorist attack or some kind of a situation where we're going to be faced with our enemy, and they're going to be Muslim / ISIS or whatever they may be. But they're already here. We don't have to wait for them for an attack from elsewhere. Do you feel that that's
absolutely?
Yeah.
They are already here. There's no doubt in my mind that they're already here. And yes, they could at any time want to take over, but that will not happen I would say it would not happen. I don't know. I don't imagine that it would happen on a large scale unless we get de-armed as an American people. What's the difference between us and the Iraqis or us and the Syrians? They were unarmed people. That is one of the things that I always say ISIS thinks they're so badass because they're going in and they're killing unarmed people. And yet they make the same threats to the American people, and they have no idea. You get away with that in Massachusetts. But if you come to the south or you go to the east or anywhere in the red area on the map where the elections happened, it's not going to be the same scenario for ISIS as it was in the Middle East.
You're
so
right
that brings me a lot of comfort. I would rather us not have to get to that position. And it's very important to note here just one thing. Mosques are not houses of worship. Mosques are political centers. They're not houses of worship. I wish people would just stop saying that. It just ticks me off beyond imagination. A mosque is a political, military headquarters. It is a court, a family court, and then it's a house of worship. That's like number 3 on the list of what a mosque is. So if there's a mosque in your area, congratulations. Know that Sharia is alive and well. And jihad is being taught in your area. It's as simple as that.
I had no idea. It's you know, you're giving me just one shock after another. You know, it's worse. It's worse than even, you know, because we can be, you know, I could sit down with friends and talk about this all day long and not really knowing what's really behind all of that. And, you know, you're sharing so much information that just it's so crystal clear for me right now. And it's even worse than I even imagined. This is beyond anyone's worst nightmare. Mm-hmm. If we do not find a way to stop this advancement of this ideology into our culture, into our society, you know, and it's, I would say I would go even to the point of saying that, yeah, it's okay. You want to have that ideology, do it in your own land, and even then it's not okay. But don't force it down our throats. Don't bring it here, because we're going to be waiting for you. That's the way that I'm feeling. So I wanted to get to the point of, what do you envision that needs to happen? Okay, what do we need to do as a people here in this country to stand up to this? How do we combat this?
There are several things we can do. One is we can get educated in Islam. Learn it. Don't take my word for it. And I've said this for as long as I can remember. Don't ever take my word for it. Go to Islamic websites and ask. Go learn. Go read it. PoliticalIslam.com has the best books that I have gone through and read in English. They have the best translation. Dr. Bill Warner is an absolute treasure on the subject, and he's done a fantastic job with translations. You have to be very weary of the translations. For example, Quran.com will give you a very, what I like to call, it's not sugar-coated. It's sugar-coated and dipped in maple syrup and then wrapped with a donut.
Holy cow.
A translation. Yes, it is not a correct translation. But if you go to politicalislam.com, you can get some great books, and they're not expensive at all. It'll be the best $10, $15, $20 you'll ever spend in your life to read this stuff, to get educated. Number 2, stop bickering with each other. Get over it. It's done. Stop going against each other, because that's exactly what Islam does. We're not each other's enemies. They're the enemy. Number 3, my suggestion when people ask me this is, there are several things that we can do as a country in order to stop terrorism. 1, stop giving the bodies back. Stop burying them according to Islamic law. The only way that a mujahid can get to heaven is if they are buried according to Islamic law. Why in the hell did we bury Osama bin Laden according to Islamic law? Why wouldn't we have just thrown his body out somewhere to rot?
Yep.
Why are we honoring him? Why are we telling other terrorists that if you come and kill us, we'll make sure that you're buried and you can go get your 72 virgins? No! Keep the body. Do something else to it. Do something that's not Islamic to it. And make sure they understand, if you attack us, you're not getting those 72 virgins. Another thing, any mosque, any terrorist, like the San Bernardino shooter or the shooter in Florida, absolutely heartbreaking, their mosques should be held accountable. Their families should be held accountable. Because Muslims, you just cannot get your cake and eat it too. You just can't. You can't say, oh, well, we didn't know. We had no idea. No, you're responsible for your community. You are very loud and you pipe up when somebody looks at you sideways. but you don't know that your own son or your own daughter is going out to kill people, the mosque should be shut down. The imam and the sheikh should be taken in for extensive questioning, and if not detained, and their families should be held accountable for what their children did, whether that's surveillance, whether that's making sure they're not getting money from Saudi Arabia for their little mujahids that they had, whatever it is, make these people think twice, 3 times, 5 times before they cross us.
That's great. It's great advice right there. Of course, because people with common sense see it, clearly, and then there are the others, right? Do you feel that this is the people that adhere to this ideology? Do you feel that there might be some sort of possession involved here, something not exactly God? Yeah. Question.
That's being on my own beliefs. I am a devout Christian now. There is no doubt in my mind, because our battle is not with the flesh, right? Our battle is with the dark spiritual world, and that's more. Now you're going to see more of my Christian side. Yes, absolutely. Listen, it's no lie. It's in Islamic doctrine that Muhammad, when he first saw what was called Gabriel, Muhammad, let me explain this. Muhammad used to go up to a cave in a mountain to have some alone time. And one of those times, he came back to his wife crying, shivering, completely scared to death. And she's asking him what happened. He said, I saw demons. Demons were trying to speak to me. When he told her what happened, she said, oh no, that's not a demon. That's Gabriel. That's the angel from the Lord. Now, she wasn't a Christian. She was a part of a heretical Christian sect that had emerged within Quraysh back then, or Mecca. And this sect had all kinds of nonsense. A lot of the other religions had already kind of mixed into it, so it wasn't a pure Christian faith. And that's where he got the idea that it was Gabriel who spoke to him. But Muhammad originally, and this is, again, in Islamic doctrine, Muhammad originally thought he saw demons. Not just that, but several times in the Sirah and the Hadith, those are the Islamic textbooks, there are several mentions of Muhammad entering a house and talking to jinn.
No way.
Yes. He even went as far as saying, if you have chicken bones or beef bones or whatever it is, don't throw them in the garbage. Throw them outside, because that's what the jinn eat. He even talked about there's Muslim jinn and there's kafir jinn, or non-believer jinn. And the Muslim jinn actually fight with Muslims when they're fighting.
Well,
this is a very not tapped into subject.
Well, this is something that needs to be explored, and because all the evidence of the behavior, I mean, you may not know what's going on in the head, but the behavior will reflect it, right? It's not of someone who is in alignment with what is Christhood, or what is good, or what is of God. It's the antithesis of that. It's the Antichrist. And so when you look at that, you've got to say, well, this is a possession. And the people that are following this are as equally possessed. So that is what I'm referring to, and it's definitely something that needs to be explored further, for no other reason than just to prove that this is not a religion of peace or of anything that's benign or anything holy. So that's really important. And just one last thing before we let you go this time, because I feel that we've got we've pretty much opened Pandora's box here. And we've got a lot of stuff to cover, including what you're doing with your website, which I'm going to touch upon in a little bit. But what is your opinion about Israel? Yeah, and specifically with the Jewish people that are there. Is it truly a nation that belongs to the Jews? What is your opinion about all this? Because there's a lot of individuals, again, that are calling themselves truthers or people that are in the know or whatever. There's different terms about this. They call the Jews Zionists, and they're very anti-Semitic, and these are the ones that are supposedly in the know, meaning they're into the love and the light and, kumbaya and all this stuff. And it's a kicker, but they'll embrace a Muslim with open arms. So that's my question: was what is your take on this whole thing with Israel and the Jewish state?
Weird. Those are the same people that it's not okay to judge a Muslim based on them believing in Islam, but the white man and the white woman are the root of all evil, and by the way, so are the Jews. It's okay to demonize them. Everybody else is just fine. Israel is my love. I can't tell you how happy I get when I think about Israel. This is the same country and the same people that I was trained as a child to hate and to want to die, and I watched them get killed on TV. And Israel is the light within a dark world of Islam. It is a beacon of freedom and justice. It is the only country in that entire region where people can have freedom, can live in dignity, regardless of their race, regardless of their sex, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their religion. It amazes me that they call Israel the apartheid state. In Saudi Arabia is okay. Israel belongs to the Jews. And they have welcomed everybody. Muslims, Christians, Hindus, whoever you are, you're welcomed in Israel. Islam's only claim, Islam in the Quran never says Israel belongs to Muslims. Not once. Matter of fact, it talks about Israel belongs to the Jews. That's who Israel belongs to. Islam's only claim on Israel is that while Muhammad was sleeping one day,
while the jinn was talking to him?
It is not the jinn, it is an angel.
Oh,
an angel came to him. And mind you, Muhammad, not one miracle. All of his miracles, not one person was around. Not a single soul. So this particular miracle happened while he was sleeping by himself. And this particular angel came and brought him somewhat of a flying donkey or a unicorn, let's say. I like to call it a unicorn. And the unicorn flew him from Saudi Arabia to Jerusalem. And from Jerusalem, the unicorn took him to the heavens, where he went and saw hell, and he went and saw heaven, and he met Abraham and Moses and the whole gang, like the whole family. He met all of them. And he spoke to God. And then he went back home on the unicorn that same night. Nobody knew about this until the next day when he woke up from his sleep and told the whole world about the miracle that just happened of him on the unicorn. That's the only claim they have. From there, they decided that Jerusalem is the third most holiest city in Islam because Muhammad once upon a time rode a unicorn there and from there went up to I try to keep a straight face when I tell you the story. So that's why that's theirs. That's their claim. So Ari, tonight I might ride a unicorn to your house.
Okay, and claim my house.
Yes,
Okay.
now your house belongs to me.
Not a problem. You can have the mortgage with it, too. Not a problem. You're more than welcome. Oh, my goodness. This is just, it's been just so enlightening just to hear, what is really happening behind the scenes, the history behind it and all that is, and I feel, knowledge is power. The more that we understand, because to me, this is our enemy. This is the enemy of everything that's, godliness, everything that's holy, everything that's wholesome. And, we as a people need to stand up to this. And the only way we know how to combat something like this is to understand it. As to why I voted for Trump, because he's, willing and able to fight for this as well. And when you see so much pushback, which side is which, what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know that the other side that's pushing against him trying to protect this country is truly not looking out for our best interest. And but before I leave, this conversation, I would like for you, because I believe that this is going to be the introduction to our next, hopefully, conversation, hopefully. I would like you to address the audience about vow.org. What that is, how you started that, because it's just so amazing. I was into that website today and it was like, oh my God, and my heart was sinking. And it's, because this is the truth, and you've put it together in such an amazing way. And again, I applaud you. I applaud you for your courage, for your tenacity, for your work. I mean, you're relentless. And so what is VOW? What does that stand for?
VOW is the Voices of Women. It is a nonprofit organization, and it is dedicated to helping women all over the world, regardless of their race, religion, anything. It's dedicated to upholding Christian values to women's lives. A woman is a jewel. She's made in God's image. She is beautiful. Her body is not to be mutilated. VOW fights against FGM, female genital mutilation, fights against domestic violence, honor violence, sexual assault and rape. We fight against acid attacks, and so much more. And there are no organizations out there that just fight for women. You break down the woman and you've broken down the family, you've broken down society. Yep. I always argue, people like to say, you just hate Muslims. I don't. I love them. It breaks my heart to see Muslim women. I've walked in their shoes, literally. I know the kind of oppression they're feeling. I know the kind of brainwashing they're undergoing. I know what they have to deal with on a daily basis. And that's why I want to stand up and say, especially if you're in America, you deserve better. You can get better. We can help you. VOW is dedicated to, there are at least 3,000 girls that undergo FGM in the United States. Oh. It boggles me. How is this even happening right here? In our land, in our backyard, honor killings happen all the time right here in the United States because people turn a blind eye because they don't want to be called a racist. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get called names. If you see something, say something. If you love these people truly, save them. Save these little girls and these women from the oppression. And that's what VOW is all about. We want to give women shelter. We want to give them a home, somewhere to go if they need to get out. We want to give them scholarships. We want to better their lives. We have a project going on in the Senegal right now that's about to take off. It's called the Second Chance Project. And all of these girls are Muslim girls that underwent FGM, a horrific thing. If you don't know anything about FGM, go to vow.org. There are videos, there are interviews. You can learn more about the Second Chance Project. These girls, it's a miracle that they're even alive after they undergo it. Not only that, they get married. They're forced to marry somebody. They have children, and then they're left. They're left to fend for themselves without an education, without any job training. What we're doing is we're actually providing them with an education and with job training so they don't have to resort to prostitution or get into slavery and sex slavery, which is really easy to get into if you're in those areas, because you go in to apply to be, for example, a maid or a laborer, and all of a sudden you're shipped off to God knows where. Yeah. And these women can actually provide for their families. And not just that, with that education, we can make sure the next generation doesn't come out and goes under FGM. Yep. And all of that is because we're commanded to love everyone. And that's part of loving them, is saying what you're doing is not okay. Here's a better way.
Amen, sister. Amen. I'm with you there, and anything I can do to help and bring awareness to this, please count me in, okay? Please count me in. I'm a warrioress just like you, and I'm relentless in what I do as well. So I applaud you again. I thank you so much for coming on the show. The time for political correctness is over. We cannot be politically correct and save this country. We will fall into the abyss. And so again, Farrah, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that this is just the beginning.
Thank you for having me.
Many conversations, and I'm right there with you. So please, anything you need, reach out to me, and I will respond. I'm there with you, shoulder to shoulder, fighting with you. Okay.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Farrah. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you. You've been listening to Shattering the Matrix. My name is Ari Kopel, and we've been speaking to Farrah Prudence. Thank you very much for joining us in this call, in this radio show and broadcast, and I hope that you can join us again for the next time. Good night.